Good morning. I just celebrated the 4th of July, and it's today, while I'm recording my YouTube, it's the 5th, and I've had a lot to think about. You gotta live in the real world, and you gotta work with whatever the judicial system has dealt us. Well, granted, there's been tremendous overreach on the power of the judiciary. They've given us an authoritarian corporate state, and they've actually given us the blueprint that they used. Plus, they've given us an imperial presidency, a presidency that is unaccountable to anyone, immune from prosecution as long as they're performing their duties. Well, that's precedence for Trump, but I can't believe that that decision only works for Donald Trump. Last time I looked, Biden was president, and it is my opinion that he should assume the imperial presidency now. In the first 100 days, FDR passed 92 bills, 92 pieces of significant legislation to alleviate the suffering of the people from the Great Depression. Well, Biden can do the same. Only he may have to pass even more laws. All he has to do is say, okay, what's good for Trump, it's good for me. I may not use his way of conducting government because I'm going to be saving democracy. And to save democracy, according to Barry Goldwater so many years ago, he stated extremism in defense of liberty is no crime, and he wanted to remind us that extremism in defense of justice isn't a crime either. So, let's set out to save democracy. What would you do? Let's look at Joe Biden. Instead of mourning the past, asking people to take you for who you are, seize the power that's been given. Seize the judicial override instructions. You are now immune for prosecution. How far will you go to save our democracy? Well, let me give you a couple of hints. Like FDR, I'd call an emergency session of Congress. I'd tell everyone, sorry, there's too much going on for you to be on vacation. Everyone comes back. And those who don't come back, well, they're in contempt of the president, the strongest branch of government, a government that is now totally immune from prosecution. Call back Congress, and those who don't come back, replace them. Replace them, fire the others, and put in people who will vote in your agenda. We got to overturn at least 2 amendments to the Constitution. One is Citizens United, and anything else that supports bribery and lobbying and excess and dark money in Congress. We got to keep our legislators on the right path. We also got to pass laws, universal laws, and laws that have been overturned by the judiciary. How many of those regs are really important? Because you gotta protect the consumers. We're entitled to clean water and clean air. So every reg that deals with that has to be codified into law. You don't have time to lose. July 8th is day one of your first 100 days. You got a lot of regs to codify into law. And you need a willing Congress and a willing Senate. You gotta believe you've got the power to insert people who will vote your way on day one. Finally, the United States can get regulations that makes our lives livable. Clean air, clean water, gives us power in the FDA, OSHA, the FCC, the FTC, and you name it. Every agency, from the NLRB to the CDC, has got regulations. Some of them must be codified. You probably got 100 laws right there. And then you've got the laws that we need and haven't been able to get with an extremist alt-right government. Well, now we don't have to worry about it. Biden is the new Imperial President. I want automatic and universal health care. I want universal education for everyone so they read and write at the 12th grade level. I want universal pre-K. I want child care that's affordable for everyone like they do in Denmark and the other Scandinavian countries. You can drop off a 6-month-old kid and that child stays in good hands until you pick the child up at 6 p.m. Meanwhile, they learn about their country. They're used to working with their peers. They form relationships and bonds, and that's a good thing. Finally, we'll have a democracy. Maybe with universal education, we'll be able to teach history, geography, civics, ethics, analytical thinking, and absolutely all the STEM subjects. This is a universal must, as every country on the planet is moving to AI and generative AI, and the technology is moving faster and faster. So there's a lot for President Biden to do. Don't mourn about the past. Live in the present. Seize the opportunity to be an imperial president and preserve democracy for we the people. You've got a nation to save from the alt-right, from unaccountable corporate welfare. It's enough. I think the people would be happy to have also a universal minimum wage between 15 to 18 bucks an hour. Then you don't even have to worry about tips because people will be making a living wage. And that's what everyone needs. That's one way to cut down on homelessness. The other way is to look at what's causing it and actually solve the problem. But it can all be done in the first 100 days. If you need a little more time because you're a little slow to grasp the concept of an imperial presidency, well, with your new Congress and Senate, overturn Amendment 20. I understand that's the one that moves the March date for inauguration to the January date of January 20th. That was only done, folks, because there was a railroad. And now people didn't have to go by stagecoach with all their household belongings and their families trekking their way to Washington, D.C. So there's a lot to do. I've given you a minimum of 6 months. If in 6 months you can't turn the country around, it's a shame. Then I guess we'll have to talk about Donald Trump. But until then, I don't even think we should discuss him. Biden, assume the Imperial Presidency as it was given to you. You're immune as long as you carry out the duties required of you as a president. And now, there are no limits. Save our democracy. Give us rights for people.